Victober 2021 wrap up, and it was a fairly successful Victober this year. I did panic at the very beginning of Victober because I had several DNFs in there, or several, and books that weren't bad, they just were very 3-star reads. And I hate that as I read, as I am a reader for more and more years, I'm just less willing to read 3-star reads unless they are a mystery. That's kind of, I'm content to read a 3-star mystery because the amount of brain power that it takes, I find it a very relaxing experience. Whereas with other things like Victorian literature, which there are Victorian mysteries and it's a category, not a genre, but I just find myself frustrated if I'm reading a 3-star book. So then, though, once I looked at kind of what I had read during Victober, I really enjoyed everything that I read. I didn't read nearly as much as I thought. I didn't think I was going to complete my TBR, anything like that, but I did not read a ton. But that is okay, because it is quantity over it is quality over quantity. And I will tell you about what I read. Now, the first book, it took me a couple weeks to actually finish any books. I have them all written down here. So the first book that I completed was The Worst Witch by Jill Murphy. This is when I wanted something just extremely just light and fluffy. And I also had some really intense health issues during October, and it took a lot out of me. So I loved this book. It was exactly what I was wanting. It's kind of Harry Potter vibes, but an all-girls boarding school. It was really short. I read it on my phone, so the physical copy, I don't know, is maybe around 120 pages. That's my guess. Just really incredibly charming. There's a whole series of these, and I was planning on reading more in the month of October, and then I got sidetracked with other things. So I am looking forward to continuing on with the series at some point. Just very, very charming and whimsical, and I loved it for it. Then I read Malice at the Palace by Rhys Bowen. This is in the Her Royal Spinus series. I think it's possibly the 10th one, and I adore this series. So I really, really love this series. It's a historical mystery series, and it has very much P.G. Wodehouse vibes if you want that kind of larger-than-life atmosphere and, interwar England. This is a great series to try. And I read this with Kate from the novel Nomad. And yeah, it's just a solid series, and something that happened at the end has me extra excited to read the next book. And then we get to the Victorian reads. And so Heartsease by Charlotte Mary Yonge was, I think, the first, no, that's not true. It was one of the first Victorian books that I completed in the month. It was a spontaneous book that I picked up. I just kind of wanted something, I wanted some domestic realism, which is a term I learned in my interview with the 2 Victorian literature scholars who, I've talked with them about Victorian literature in general, but also Charlotte Mary Yonge. And domestic realism is kind of what Elizabeth Gaskell, George Eliot, Charlotte Mary Yonge, and to an extent Anthony Trollope fall under. And that category I really, really love. Just kind of doing day-to-day life with people. And I absolutely adored Heartsease by Charlotte Mary Yonge. It is tied with The Heir of Redcliffe for my favorite out of her books. Now, I think if you are someone who has read Little Women and you don't find Little Women saccharine, you like kind of the sentimentality of it, or the sentimental feel of the book, and just the very kind of warm and gentle storytelling, I think Charlotte Mary Yonge is an author you would definitely want to check out. So now I've read The Heir of Redcliffe, The Daisy Chain, and Heartsease. And The Daisy Chain, I did do a video review for patrons, and I'll just give you basically a quick synopsis. I did like The Daisy Chain because it's Charlotte Mary Yonge's writing, but the amount of didactic chapters in The Daisy Chain is very, very high. And so I think it took me a while to get through it because there are so many here's a chapter where we're going to learn more about morals, just really hard hitting. And Little Women has a few of those, but then if you go on to read Little Men or Jo's Boys, there's so many chapters like that. And that's why I never connected as much with Little Men or Jo's Boys. And so there were a few chapters like that in Heartsease, but I just gave myself permission to skim those chapters, and there weren't nearly as many as there were in the Daisy Chain. So this is one that it won my heart a lot. And the basic synopsis is Arthur, who is the second oldest son in this family, is coming home with his new bride that his family has not met. He was not planning on getting married. He met her at a ball and they got married 2 weeks later, the day after she turned 16. So she is a baby. She's so young. And her family are all really mad that he didn't tell them that he was getting married. I mean, I would be upset, like if my brother just got married, came home, you know, didn't give us any heads up. And then they all have these preconceived notions about his wife because of who her family is and kind of where she falls in the social rankings. And it's about them getting to know her and her true colors showing. And I just love somebody said this is a Pride and Prejudice retelling, and to the extent that her family, rather Arthur's family, is very prejudiced against Violet, and they learn that she really is, she does have strong character. She's just very strong, and she looks like this, you know, wisp of a girl. She's so beautiful, and they think that he married her just for her looks. And I really loved how they got to slowly know Violet. Also, it's a very poetic book. The book is called Heartsease, which is another name for the three-colored violet flower, and Violet is the heroine of the novel. And I really enjoyed it. So I think if you like The Heir of Redcliffe, I recommend picking up Heartsease. And it is also a bit less sad than The Heir of Redcliffe, which I really appreciated. So yeah, loved this. One of the characters will frustrate you a lot. But if you're willing to get through that, I think it's definitely a book you would want to try out. And then I read 2 E. Nesbit books, The Treasure Seekers, and then the sequel, which is The Wouldbegoods. These are new all-time favorite children's books for me. I loved these books so much. You're following the Bastable family. I did them as audiobooks with my boys, which we loved. And the Bastable family has lost their fortune. And so the first one is the children's, their mission to gain the family fortune back. And each child, there's 6 of them, has a different strategy for them to get their money back. There's so many funny things in this. And then starting the E. Nesbit biography in November, seeing a lot of the things in her real life that inspired them. And she had a whole slew of siblings. And then the Wouldbegoods, they go on a summer holiday, and all of the adventures that they get into, all of the scrapes they get into in the country, so charming. There is some dated language in here, which you should expect that if you're reading a Victorian novel. And oh, I love that. Also, speaking of dated language, I should say that in Heartsease, there is a fair amount of that. So just go in being prepared. If that's something that's going to ruin the book for you, it's just not worth your time to read it. Because I was kind of surprised at the amount. And I won't even go into detail, but if you know, you know when you read it. And then I read Kidnapped by Robert Louis Stevenson. I very much enjoyed this. I'm really excited to continue exploring Robert Louis Stevenson's writing. It's just, I love his style of adventure tale because he's got the amount of characterization that I want, but also there's so much that goes on. And I kind of alternated between the physical book and the audiobook for this, and it was just so good. And especially a really interesting time in history that I didn't know much about. The late 18th century, I'm pretty sure is when it was set. And just a really interesting time for me to take in so much information, but since it was written for children, it felt pretty accessible to me, because sometimes when you pick up historical fiction in an unknown time period, all the details are overwhelming. So I'm really excited to read at some point the sequel to Kidnapped, which I think you say Catrona. I think is how you say it. But I'm definitely looking forward to reading more by Robert Louis Stevenson. And then I read Lady Anna by Anthony Trollope. I'm really happy that I persevered with this because I first picked this up as an audiobook that I had bought a couple of years ago on Audible. And I don't know what I was thinking when I was willing to pay money for it, because I just did not like the narrator that much. He was incredibly monotone. And so I was like, I don't know if I'm into reading this. Well, you know, the library has a physical copy of this. Why don't I pick it up from the library and see what I think? And I'm so glad that I did, because I adored this. I gave it 5 stars. Lady Anna is the daughter of a woman who's, after her husband passes away and they're trying to get the inheritance settled, another woman claims to have been married to him, thus making Lady Anna's parents not legally married. And so the repercussions of that, this whole case for whether they are in fact legally married, were in fact legally married, whether Lady Anna is in fact Lady Anna, should she get the inheritance. But it's really about the characters. The characters are the heart of this book. And it just made me realize how much I enjoy Anthony Trollope, and just his writing is brilliant. And I'm so excited to continue reading through his works, and I love this so much. And then it was nice because later on, when I only had about 100 pages left in the book and I was feeling really unwell, too unwell to hold up a physical book, I went back to the audiobook, and since I was enjoying the story so much, the narrator didn't bother me as much. But loved Lady Anna. And now I really want to read The Claverings, which Katie from Books and Things in her Trollope rankings put The Claverings way up there. And there is a narrator that I really like for The Claverings on Audible. So I'm thinking about splurging on that and treating myself. And then such a fun book to read in October, and that was Halloween Party by Agatha Christie. Now, I think also part of it is just reading. Modern mysteries are fun in a different way to older Golden Age mysteries, and I generally prefer modern mysteries, but I think to switch all of a sudden from beautiful, flowery Victorian language to a modern one can be a bit jarring. And so this, I think, is just the perfect pick. And I mean, her writing is so beautiful in this. This is a darker one because there is a child who is murdered. So you should know that going in, but it's told in such a manner that's so good. And Ariadne Oliver, who is a recurring character in a few Poirot novels. This is really late in the Poirot series, so I haven't gotten there. I'm up to maybe the 18th Poirot. I can't remember the number, but it's Poirot's Christmas, so of course I'm reading that in December. But I just really love the character of Ariadne Oliver. She's eccentric. She's a mystery author. And I still need to watch the TV episode of this because I didn't get around to it. Halloween was busy for me, and it was so lovely discussing this with people. And if you want to, be a part of a free mystery book club, you can join us to read the Ian Rutledge series by Charles Todd. And we're going to be reading one a month. So it'll take us maybe 2 years to get through the series, but that'll be really, really fun. And then a reread of Wuthering Heights. This was my 3rd time reading this. This book hurts when you read it. You feel a bit beat up by the end, but the language is so beautiful. It's so beautiful. I had so much fun discussing this with people at our discussion, and now I'm realizing I said I would put that up on YouTube. So hopefully that will be up either before this video or soon after, because people wanted to see it that weren't able to attend. I love this book. I love this book. And I will link down below my discussion with my husband because I had a lot of fun having him on my channel and just discussing this book. And I didn't know how the discussion was going to go. Sometimes I struggle to come up with thoughts on books that I feel very deeply about. But once we started unpacking it together, I thought the discussion went really well. And yes, so a couple Wuthering Heights discussions there if you are interested. And now, lastly, I have 355, about 130 pages left of John Marchmont's Legacy by Mary Elizabeth Braddon. I need to finish this. Kate from the Novel Nomad, who I'm buddy reading this with, finished it, and her message on her final thoughts are waiting for me on Voxer, and I need to finish this. I'm really enjoying it. It is very unpredictable, like a lot of her books. This is a more atmospheric one, like Lady Audley's Secret or Aurora Floyd. But because of our main character of Mary Marchmont, who is John Marchmont's daughter, the characterization for her, we haven't gotten to know her that well. And I I don't think this is going to shoot up to 5 stars. So I have really enjoyed it and I want to know what's going to happen with the mystery. So far, it's at a steady 4 stars. Like I said, really unpredictable in the plot, and I really enjoyed that aspect about it. So there we have it, my October 2021 wrap up. I put a lot of pressure on October's to be this amazing reading month, and I need to spend less time panicking because then once I looked at it, I got several new favorite Victorian novels out of it. And then also just being like, you can read Victorian literature at times when it's not October. So that is my wrap up. I hope you had a good Victober. I had so much fun seeing people's comments on my videos, watching other people's videos, and it's just so much fun. It's such a fun time to be on BookTube. And I will leave it at that. Thank you for watching as always, and I will be back with another video soon. Bye.